Yo! Thank you to everybody tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. And as usual, it is your boy, Mr. Rose. DJ, you gotta fade us all the way out. You gotta fade us all the way out because we gotta talk to the people. We got to talk to the good people in the Digipreneur family. It is March 1st. Wow. Episode number 151. Where did February go? I barely remember February. I know we had January. January felt like 2 months. We blinked and February was literally done, even with it being a leap year. And, we are now into March. And what's funny is that, we jokingly say, but we're dead serious all the time, but Trinidad really starts March 1st. Like the new year in Trinidad really starts March 1st, after Ash Wednesday. I can't even say March 1st because sometimes Carnival is late and Carnival follows Ash Wednesday, and Ash Wednesday sometimes is in March, right? So Trinidad and Tobago really starts, the new year really starts after Ash Wednesday, because from November time comes, we know we're gearing up for Christmas, so parang season is starting, and you go into Christmas, people are winding down, it's the end of the year, so people are winding down, then Christmas, then New Year's, and then Carnival is in full swing, and then all anybody can think about is Carnival until Ash Wednesday, And it's funny because, you're hearing some companies now doing sales kickoffs, and they're now getting their, what should have happened in January, they're now starting to do these things, so fun times ahead in Trinidad and Tobago. Things can now really start. But anywho, March 1st, we blinked, February's done, and, we're finally getting the year started. So where do we go from here? What are we talking about today in the Digipreneur FM podcast? Well, I'll first start off by saying that we're also not just recording for the audio-only podcast family. We started to record the video so that we can now dive in deeper on YouTube. And even the YouTube journey has been, pretty fun because we're learning the ins and outs of YouTube. We're trying to get to the point of monetization on YouTube. I have never really sought monetization from any platform, mainly because, there's so many ways to monetize that are better, more efficient, low-hanging fruit, easier for you to get into, where you can start to monetize from day one. I'll probably do an episode on that, at another point. But I've been watching the stats on YouTube a lot because I want to learn more about YouTube monetization. Now, YouTube monetization follows Google AdSense, so I have a Google AdSense account. I run Google AdSense on one of my websites. I've been paid from Google a few times just by traffic coming into the platform and Google running its ads on the website and yada, yada, yada. So you definitely get paid from Google AdSense, and that connects to YouTube and all of my YouTubers out there that are getting paid. Again, it's the same process with you running ads on your website. You have the option of getting paid through check, or you have the option of getting paid direct deposit into your account in the 22nd of every month, right? So I am almost there in terms of the numbers, in terms of the eligibility for YouTube monetization. I think this year I was like, you know what? Let me really focus on my video content because I want to tap into the YouTube monetization. Just more insights for me. But then also I want to go harder on the video content because I want to be able to, if you haven't noticed, right? You're seeing this year in particular, over the past couple of months, podcasts are dropping like crazy. Not locally, but when you look at the entertainment world, the sports world, almost every basketball player has a podcast now. Shaq has a podcast. Paul George has a podcast. Shannon Sharp, Ocho Cinco, they got their podcast. So we're seeing a lot of people coming out with podcasts, and it's a vlogcast because they got the video as well as the audio versions to it. And I think just seeing the process of how everybody is building their podcasts, where again, video and the audio, but then they can chop up a million pieces of video clips for YouTube, for the socials, YouTube Short, TikTok, you name it. But then you still have the audio version for the full version, and then you can go and watch the full video version on YouTube. I really think that is the way to go, and I'm going to be doubling down in that space as well. And, again, just taking cues from people who have bigger budgets and doing it at a higher level than me, just taking cues from them and experimenting in my own way, capturing all the video. And I mean, I do a lot. So besides the podcasting, there's TV, so I get those clips. But then there's radio, and I'm shooting the guests as well. And there's a lot happening that I have content that I could shoot for, and then, be strategic about what I chop up as clips. And, then you have the audio only podcast as well. So just seeing all of these things has made me want to double down on video and experiment with, just experimenting more with video, and just taking a lot of cues from the guys that are doing it at a higher level, right? So that's why you're seeing now that I'm recording the video for the podcast as well, and that'll go up on YouTube, and we'll chop those clips up, But anyways, let's dive into the topic for today. And the topic for today is why followers no longer matter on social media. Why followers no longer matter on social media. And one other thing before I get started on the topic, another reason why I've been shooting the video as well is because I want to show people how we could do content at scale, right? So being able to tap into the videos, being able to tap into the audio, like again, there's so much. And you know what, hold on. I just want to show you guys what I mean by content at scale, right? Video guys, you guys are going to be seeing this. The audio family's not seeing this. I'm just going to run and grab something, right? So this is what I mean by content at scale. So we got the newspaper, right? Let me just punch back in. Hold on one second. See, this is the good thing with video, right? You're gonna see some things that the audio family's not gonna see, right? So anyways, let me start the recording for the audio again. So when we're talking about content at scale, right? Today's podcast, Why Followers No Longer Matter on Social Media, I actually wrote that up, and that was my column for the Newsday this week, right? And again, this is why I wanted to show you guys this. Content at scale. So the video family is going to see, the audio family, just have to take our word for it, but you guys can always go and peek on social media. But our column yesterday that came out, content that's why followers no longer matter, that was my column inside of the Newsday, all right? So you guys can see my face, blah, blah, blah. That was the column for the Newsday that we did. So this is in the papers, all right? This is also, it gets loaded onto their website. So it's loaded onto their website. Because it's a media house, it's gonna get pushed to Apple News, Google News, and it's gonna go to all their subscribers on Newsday as well. And then we're doing the podcast, but then we're also doing the video on it. Then we're going to be able to chop up clips. And again, taking that one idea, that one content idea, and now turning it into multiple different formats, right? Audio, written, visual with the video, and then distributing across multiple channels, podcast network, YouTube, social media, papers, Apple News, Google News. That is how you can create content at scale, taking that one idea, and every time we drop it somewhere, that's a completely different audience. Again, depending on how you like to consume your content, You might prefer to read it. You might prefer to listen to it. You might prefer to watch it on YouTube. It doesn't matter how you consume my content. That doesn't matter. My goal is to be able to create content at scale in different formats, different channels, different avenues, and then I leave it up to the audience how they consume that content, right? So that has been my focus and doubling down on that year. And one other thing I will show the video family is I'm also in one of the featured articles this week, and the featured article is called "The Art of Influencing: Content Creators Weigh In on Industry Opportunities and Challenges." So this is going to be a two-part series in the paper, and we recorded some interviews. So Newsday is going to be dropping interviews that I did. We spoke for like an hour, so there's going to be multiple pieces of content dropping on social media, and then there's a two-part series in the papers and whatnot. And they also interviewed content creator Anastasia Mutu, Ayodele, who's a travel blogger. They got Brent Coutain, who is the head of digital for Lonzel and Saatchi, and they got I think it's Mr. Hosang Rudder, who is the owner of Restage, which is a platform that connects brands and content creators to do collaborations and whatnot. So interesting series, guys. You guys can go check it out. All right. Now let's dive into today's topic. So, why followers no longer matter on social media today? Well, in the ever-evolving landscape of social media, the metrics by which we measure success are shifting beneath our very feet. Gone are the days when the number of followers was the ultimate badge of your digital prowess. Today, the rules of engagement have changed, with a deeper, more meaningful connection to content and community taking precedence over your numbers. The article that we're going to be diving into, so remember I wrote this article, so the article kind of forms my script for the podcast platform. But what we're going to be diving into today is 5 key reasons why followers no longer reign supreme in the social media hierarchy. All right. So from the rise of social SEO. Remember, a lot of social media platforms are trying to double down their search, making it easier for you to find the content because they realize the search engines are the number one place that everybody goes for information. And they're trying to get you to create more content that people would be searching for on. So rather than you conducting that search on Google, they want to build up the search on social media so that when you create that type of content that people are looking for, it's easier for them to find, right? Makes sense. So social media platforms have evolved and people are using them as search engines today. Think TikTok, Instagram is trying their best at it as well, with users increasingly turning to them for information and shopping decisions. I mean, all your favorite content creators are there creating content. So again, they want to keep you on the platform and take away, some of that leverage that Google has, right? Content that answers questions and provides value can remain relevant for much, much longer and appear in search results indefinitely, making engagement more important than sheer number of followers. This is why social media platforms have been focusing on getting better at search so that those who prefer to find answers to the questions they seek have an easier time in doing so. All right? So that's the first reason why your social media followers doesn't matter as much as they did. The type of content that people want to consume on social media is the type of content they would have gone to on Google for information and whatnot. Now, you're still going to have people creating skits, comedy, doing that type of thing, cool, right? But again, because people want to get that real life experience, that real life feedback of people utilizing products, shopping, information, getting information from all sorts of things, right? And people are creating content and they're putting it on social media. Again, that's why they wanted to get better at search, so that when those same questions you're asking on Google to get information, rather than conducting that search on Google, the social media platforms now want you to find that information on social media. So with all of that, it comes, they got to measure the success of the content a bit differently. So rather than just, measuring you on the vanity stuff, likes and comments and followers, now it's all about, can you retain people? Can you keep people watching the content, right? That's also why they've extended the video upload limits. So like TikTok is like 30 minutes now. Instagram is 20 minutes. And they came out last year and they said, people are watching content, longer form content, right? Which brings us to the next point as to why your following doesn't matter as much anymore on social media. And the second reason is because of a preference for longer form video content. So as platforms start to increase their video lengths and user behavior shifts towards seeking more in-depth information, content creators need to produce longer videos that engage viewers with quality content. Now, this change reflects a broader trend where the value of content is measured by its ability to retain viewer attention over time, rather than simply by the number of followers. The social media algorithms have focused less on followers and more on whether the people who do see your content are engaging. This is why people with small followings can go more viral than ever before. Engagement is measured by the watch time, drop-off points, people sharing the content, and people saving the content, right? So this is why, and thank God for TikTok. I think TikTok has really changed the way all of the other platforms are kind of looking at how they, promote the content to get it out to bigger followings. You don't have to have a following to get big viewership, right? So when I look at, I'm just going to pull this up, right? Actually, I think I have it I do have it on my phone, right? So when I look at my analytics for my Instagram account, all right? So I have 13,000 followers on Instagram, right? Over the last month, my following has grown by 0.7%, right? As long as it's not negative, I'm fine, right? However, in the last month, the accounts that my content has reached has been over 28,000, which is a plus 102% increase. And the accounts that I have engaged, it's still locked up on me. The accounts that I've engaged have been over 2,600 different accounts, unique accounts, right? That's a 51% increase. So the content is reaching people, even if they're not following you. Remember too, right? People don't have to follow you to get information. How many times when you do a Google search, you might get the information that you need from whatever source that you get them from, but you don't always follow them, right? However, you're getting the information from these people. You might even get the sales from these people, but they still might not follow you, right? So again, followers doesn't equal sales, because people generally do not need to follow you to buy from you, right? So the content, even though my following isn't growing at the rate as my content is getting out there, the content is being heavily viewed. The content is racking up shares. The content is racking up saves. The watch time is really high, right? The watch time is really high. The accounts, its reach it's getting pushed even more because people are watching the content and they're engaging with the content. Even if they don't follow me, they're still watching, they're still engaging, they're sharing the content, they're saving the content. So again, this is why your following doesn't matter as much, because even when your content is outpacing people subscribing to and following you, social media has realized that, and they're like, okay, well, you know what? We can't just watch mere numbers and think that everything is all good. Like, we need to measure how good you're performing by the actual how the actual content is performing. So that's what I'm saying. Your watch time is taken into heavy consideration. When do people drop off? How much of the content have they consumed is being taken into heavy consideration. People are watching longer form content. The social media platforms are rewarding you for that, because the longer your content is, that means the more people are staying on your platform to watch the content. Look at the Who the F Did I Marry series on TikTok. 8.5 hours, and people have watched it, right? People have watched it. So that entire thing, again, just shows you once again that it's not people's attention spans that have changed. People want content that's going to engage them, that's going to make them watch. And everybody has to get better at creating better content if you want people to sit down and actually consume your content, right? There's so much content in the world. You got to figure out how to stand out, and you got to figure out how to retain your people. Let me give you my numbers on YouTube, because I thought this was interesting as well. So on YouTube, where is it? I believe it's in, where is it? So there's a part in YouTube that shows, all right, perfect, I got it. So in my YouTube content, right, 64%, and this is over the last 28 days, 64% of the people that have consumed the content on my platform are not subscribers. Again, people do not need to follow you or subscribe from you to consume your content. They don't have to follow you or subscribe to you to buy from you, right? So people will Google, they'll get the information, they'll consume, they'll engage, they'll watch, and they'll buy. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to follow you. So again, this is just another reason why your following doesn't matter as much as you think it matters anymore, all right? Now, point number three. So the first one was social SEO and search intention. You know, people are using social media as a search engine to get the information. Not necessarily, they're not following you as much as they used to, but again, just how their behaviors are on social media now. They're going to Google, and they would have asked questions. Those same questions they're asking over on Google, they're now using social media to search and get information. Again, they don't necessarily need to follow you to get the information and consume the content. Number two was there's a preference for longer form video content. So the videos are, longer, people are engaging more, not necessarily following you, but they're watching and consuming your content in a very different way than they did before. And that goes to number three. So again, why your social media followers don't matter as much as they did before. Number three, there's a shift towards DMs for engagement, right? So engagement is moving away from public feeds, so comments, right, on your page. It's moving away from public discourse to direct messages, reflecting a preference for more private and personalized interactions. So this shift is challenging traditional metrics like follower counts, as meaningful engagement occurs in less visible spaces. Caribbean businesses have been notorious for not answering their DMs on a timely basis, and this needs to change if you want to build those personal connections with your audience and potential customers. So we're seeing a lot more of people not necessarily commenting on your content, but everybody's taking, I don't like using the word everybody, but you have more people. The shift is people are DMing the brands for that personalized conversation even more. And this is one thing where Caribbean businesses need to do better, because we are notorious for not responding to messages or responding to them weeks upon weeks later. Now, I myself am seeing a rise in the DMs, right? There's a lot more questions that are being asked. And again, my job really is to take a lot of the questions that people ask me and turn it into content, so that when they do a Google search for the information is there, and they don't always have to DM me. So the DMs are good for the personal interaction, but I mean, if you're a one-man show, or maybe you have a team, but I'm a one-man show, as a solopreneur, the more I can give you to find on your own and put that information out there to reduce the amount of people coming in. Because if I wasn't putting out the information as much as I do, then there would be more DMs and more questions coming in, more requests for phone calls and meetings and blase. And again, I'm not trying to do all of that. I want, when I do have the conversations, they're more edified and the questions are better. So I want to put as much information out there so that when we do have interactions and we do have conversations, all the basics, right? So yeah. But there are more people that are now jumping your DMs to ask the questions and not always commenting. So again, just saying that's why, the comments, it cannot be used as one of the big measurements of you doing well, because you have a lot more people DMing you than ever before, right? Shift towards that personalized conversation. Now we move to point number 4 of why your social media following doesn't matter as much. The value of shares over likes and comments. So there is more weight behind shares and saves than likes and comments. So shares have become an important metric more than likes and comments and followers, because they indicate that the content is valuable enough to be passed along, impacting your reach and engagement more significantly. When you learn how to create content worth sharing and saving, you will realize that content looks very different than what you would post for views and likes. So to give you guys an example, just so you have a visual, think about trending content, right? The vast majority of trendy content, you using a trendy sound, you doing a dance, it might be funny, but it's usually never worth a save, right? It's usually never worth a save. We get flooded with joke content all the time. But think about that. When you save a lot of the joke content, the comedy sketches, how often are you returning to these comedy sketches? How many times are you returning to that? Think about that for your own self, right? But when you're saving content that has information that you need, you go back to that because it's valuable and it has information. And depending on what you're trying to do, you may need to keep on going back to that for a hot minute until you've executed whatever the piece of information in the video that you saved is. So, I'm watching a lot of content on world travel and visas in different countries and whatnot. I save a lot of content from different embassies and travel agents and whatnot that are talking about visa requirements and restrictions and this, that, and the third from multiple countries, because I myself have been thinking about, okay, if I want to relocate, what do I need to do if I want to spend, a year outside of Trinidad and go live somewhere else for a year and whatnot, what do I need? So I keep on going back to that content because there's a lot of information that I need to go back to and learn and compare and contrast and yada, yada, yada. When it comes to comedy content, well, for one, I don't really save anything. And even if it's ridiculously funny, the save might be I might be busy and I can't watch it, but I want to watch it later when I have some downtime. I might go back and watch it at that point in time. I might go and share it to 1 or 2 people. But then that's it. It's outlived its usefulness. It's a lot of the comedic sketches today don't stand the test of time. Like, I personally don't think, like, you see how with Eddie Murphy, Raw, Delirious, how we have been watching that since it dropped in the 80s. I don't think the social media comedy has that type of timelessness to it, right? So a lot of it's going to be funny whenever you do see it. But it might not be funny, or you might not care to go back and save it and rewatch it at a later date, right? So for me, I always save the content that's going to help me, and I refer back to it. And that is the trend that we are seeing. So when you build your brand as a place of resource, and you can create the content that's worth saving and sharing, right? That content is going to be very different than the content you're going to do for likes and reactions and comments, because that can be a lot of surface level content, that can be a lot of trendy content, where again, there's no replay value in that. It's good for that one-time laugh or maybe that two-time laugh, but then that's it. You keep it moving. But when you build yourself as a resource, and people are saving and they're sharing the content, and they can keep on going back to it, you're still going to get those rewatches, which is another reason why social media has been focusing more on search, because they want to give you that ability like the search engines do, where you jump on Google and you do a search and you get the content that best answers your question. And that content might have been created 5-6 years ago, but it's still relevant depending on what you're looking for. Might still be relevant. So people are still going to keep on going back to that content over and over and over and over again. I've told you before, my best performing content is on my website. My best performing content on my website is my PayPal in the Caribbean article, because that content still gets Googled over 30,000 times a month. And I did that article back in 2019. And from 2019 to 2024, every single month when I'm checking my analytics, that content is still pulling over 30,000 Google searches a month, and it's still my number one best performing piece of content, even though I created it years ago. When I look at my YouTube analytics, my top 2 videos, my top 2 or 3 videos all center around PayPal and e-commerce. And I did those videos years ago, right? So again, this is why you have social media trying to double down on search, because they want you to be able to go and find that content and go back to it. But when your content is content of substance and value, and you're giving more reasons for people to save the content, share the content, and go back to it time and time again, that type of content is going to keep on performing well for you on social media. And they're trying to take those things into consideration into promoting the content that you push out. Again, another reason why your social media following doesn't matter as much, because people don't need to follow you. If they're able to search and find that valuable content or save it, they don't have to follow you, but they're still saving it. They're still going back to that content. And again, there's a lot of reasons why people might not follow you, right? There's some people who cannot be seen. I won't go there. No, I will. There's a lot of people who won't follow you because they can't afford to be seen following you or seen engaging with your content, but they're engaging with your content because they're consuming your content. They've saved your content. They keep on going back to your content, but they can't afford to be seen publicly engaging with you, or they can't afford to be seen. They can't afford to be seen following you on social media. That happens more than you know. Anyways, point number 5: why your social media following doesn't matter as much anymore. And point number 5 is honesty, transparency, and taking action. So in the context of social media activism and brand communication, users value honesty, transparency, and concrete actions over performative support. So brands that align their actions with their messaging and take clear stands on issues, they can build deeper trust and engagement with their audience, irrespective of their follower count. So you're seeing people that are now giving micro-influencers more of a chance, more of a spotlight. Companies are working with a lot of micro-influencers more because they realize they are the ones that have a deeper connection with their audience. A lot of them are subject matter experts within their space, so the brands are aligning themselves with them because they realize, these people really do have a community that trusts them, right? And as a micro-influencer, somebody with a smaller following account, if your content is top tier, if your content feels as though, again, you're honest, you're transparent, and you put the information out there and you're building those deeper relationships, people are willing to follow you. People are willing to engage with you and follow you, even if you have a small account. They're not watching the numbers because for the most part, you would look at people with the major numbers and you're like, oh wow, they must be doing something right. Let me go and follow these guys. But then you realize a lot of them right now are just focused on showcasing their lifestyle, taking all the brand deals to be paid sponsors and whatnot. And the information might not always be as genuine, right? But a lot of these smaller content creators, people are looking at them and like, you know what? Forget the numbers. We're following this person. They seem like they're about their business, right? So brands are willing to work with you regardless of your follower count. More people are willing to engage with you regardless of your follower count. So again, all this to say that your social media numbers just don't matter as much as they did before, right? Even if you feel like, yo, it does, and we need to run up our numbers as much as before, we need to run up our numbers and get as much followers as possible, you tend to start doing things to get followers. And that might always be the best things that are aligned with your brand, right? Stick to your guns. Stick to your guns. Focus on being a resource, providing quality content, and people are going to engage with you. And you know what? At this day, with engagement being, the number one metrics that get pushed, when you have people who really engage their content, they're watching it, and you have the low follower count, the social media algorithms are pushing your content out to more people. So more people are seeing, more people are engaging with it. And again, as I gave you guys my own metrics, even though people are engaging with it, they're watching your content more, that doesn't always necessarily translate into followers. So don't study that, right? Like I said, my Instagram account points something in terms of follower growth. However, the reach, the content consumption, the engagement is through the roof. So don't study your followers. Don't study your followers. Focus on putting out the content that is going to be of substance, that is going to hold people's attention, that people are going to engage with. And as long as your engagement numbers, your saves, as long as those types of things, your consumption of your content, as long as those things are trending upwards, don't even worry about your follower counts, right? Because a lot of business owners and people in general just need to shift away from, we need to get followers. Nobody's going to take us seriously if we don't have followers. We're not going to get partnerships if we don't have followers. Forget all that. What social media algorithms want now is for you to be able to create content that's going to keep people on the platform more. And that doesn't mean you need to have followers for that. You could have 100 or 50 followers and create an amazing piece of content. If people are engaging, that's going to get pushed out to even more and more and more people. It's why, again, like I said before, more people are going viral, reaching millions of people, and they only have 1,000 followers, right? So your social media following does not matter like it once did. It really is about the engagement, holding people's attention, getting people to consume your content, creating the type of content that is searchable, that's going to be answering people's questions and people keep on going back to that content. Focus on creating that type of content. Everything else will take care of itself. People do not have to follow you to buy from you. They do not have to follow you to search for your content, engage with your content, save your content, share your content. They don't have to follow you for those things. So as I said, this is why your social media following does not matter like it once did. All right? Now, just to kind of get back to my first point before we spoke about this topic, right? This is another clarion call for everybody to start thinking about creating content at scale. Take one idea that you have for your content and focus on creating content that is visual, and that could be carousels, that could be video content. Focus on how can we do audio content. Audio content, you could be doing a podcast, you could be doing audiograms, but people learn via visual, audio, and written. So I just showed you that the content is in the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, right? And I have content in Jamaica Observer. I have content on my website, written content on my website, and I always try to focus on those learning styles. And when you create all that content in those three different mediums, right? Now it's going to show up in different places, and then you get the ability to cut things up and make it into smaller pieces of content. So when you hear, Gary Vaynerchuk talk about, creating 100 pieces a day, it has never been easier to create, I don't want to say 100 pieces of content a day. It's very possible, but I'm not going to tell you to go ahead and create 100 pieces of content, but it's very doable to create a whole lot of content per day. Granted, you understand how to create video content, blog content, or written content and audio content. You now are able to chop these things up into bits and pieces and do more with those things than you've ever been able to do before. And we have all of the tools available to us so that you don't have to have a whole team, you don't have to outsource a whole lot. Right now, I'm shooting my video on my DJI Pocket 3. Even though I have a Sony a6100 on my desk, I need to go and learn how to use this thing, because right now this just streams my videos, and I record my videos directly into my computer. But that is that's a whole next level thing. Like in terms of me getting the best quality out of my Sony a6100, I gotta learn how to do that. With my DJI Pocket, I get 4K up to 60 frames per second, amazing quality, and I didn't have to learn how to do anything on it. So and then because of CapCut is the editing tool that I use or whatever. When I'm editing the videos, I have the option to export the audio in one shot as well. And it's been easier to learn than Final Cut Pro. So at some point, I would like to take some videography classes to learn how to shoot video with my Sony a6100, learn how to do some photography, and I'd put that to use more. But with the Pocket 3 has been dummy-proof to get amazing quality without having to learn anything. And because it fits in the palm of my hand, because it sits on a gimbal and it has a tracking feature, I've been able to do so much more with it than I would have with my Sony a6100, right? Like I've been able to do workshops and put the camera down on a desk somewhere, set up the tracking, and that's just following me as I work the room or whatever. So it's been godsend for that, right? And again, it's small. When I'm doing workshops or one-on-ones with people, I can just kind of plant that there. We have the DJI mic, so I just got my second one. So they wirelessly connect to the Pocket 3, and I can clip that on my guests, put it on me and talk. And man, it's just made life so much easier and creating content extremely easy. So that's another reason. That's another thing that people have to do. You got to learn how to create content at scale, but you also need to figure out, how do I create content at scale? What are the tools that I need? What are the applications I need? And then just start to practice. And then it's going to be easy for you to now bang out a podcast, bang out a video, chop up clips, turn this into a written document, and now you have a blog or whatever the case is, and then figuring out, how do I get more reach to my content? Again, when I write in the papers, when I'm on TV, people don't necessarily follow me on social media, but guess what? I get stopped every single day with people telling me, they love my TV segment, or they read the article in the Newsday or Jamaica Observer all the time, every single week, and they don't necessarily follow me. And again, you're reaching a lot of people with your content, but again, doesn't always necessarily mean that they're following you to do business with you, right? But they'll do business with you, but they don't necessarily have to follow you. All right, so anyways, that's today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget, if you're listening in from Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, don't forget to rate the podcast. And if you guys really enjoyed the podcast, please drop a review. I read the reviews. The reviews continue to help me keep the content fresh, keep the content coming. And then the people that are not subscribing or have not subscribed, they're always going to read the comments first and reviews first to figure out if this is a podcast they want to listen to. And if you're watching the content from YouTube, please like the podcast, drop a comment, let me know how you guys enjoyed the content and the information. And if you want to ensure that you never miss another video or a podcast, make sure you guys subscribe to the content, hit the bell to be notified whenever our content drops, all right? So that is it from me today. It is Friday, March the 1st. I have the Digital World radio show coming up a little bit later from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. every single Friday. So if you haven't checked out our Digital World radio program, if you're in Trinidad and Tobago, tune in on Freedom 106.5 FM every single Friday, 12 to 3. And if you live outside of Trinidad, if you have any of the radio apps, you guys can tune in, or I'll post the link to our live stream and you guys can tune into the live stream every single Friday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. AST, Atlantic Standard Time, for the Digital World. That is it from me today, folks. Have yourself an enjoyable weekend and take care. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you guys drop a comment below, all right? See you guys in the next one.